This week on Jerusalem Dateline, a special program exploring the mysteries of Israel, like the 2,000-year-old scroll that hints of a buried treasure in the Judean desert, and the professor who believes he knows where the lost Ark of the Covenant resides today. Plus, the Jewish group that's making plans to rebuild the temple to fulfill biblical prophecy. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. More than 60 years ago, archaeologists discovered what could be the world's oldest treasure map. The 2,000-year-old scroll describes more than $3 billion worth of hidden gold and silver. Is it a hoax, or could there be real buried treasure in the Judean desert? We traveled to the place where this ancient treasure hunt began, the caves of Qumran near the Dead Sea in Israel. In 1947, a Bedouin shepherd wandered the hills of Qumran in search of a missing sheep. He threw a stone into a cave, hoping to drive the lost animal outside. Instead, the sound of shattered pottery drew the shepherd inside the cave, where he stumbled on the greatest archaeological find of the 20th century, the Dead Sea Scrolls. In the years that followed, archaeologists found 11 caves and more than 900 documents here at Qumran. But one scroll was different from all the rest. Instead of leather or parchment, it was made entirely of copper, and it could be the greatest treasure map in history. The copper scroll describes a hidden cache of gold and silver buried in more than 60 locations throughout Israel. The monetary value is close to $3 billion, but the historical value is priceless. The only place in ancient Israel with that much wealth was the Jewish temple.
This is a tremendous witness to history. To actually have a list of the treasures from the temple itself from the first century is just amazing. Well, we have nothing better than the copper scroll now for telling us what was really there.
Stephen Fawn is one of the editors of the Dead Sea Scrolls. He took me up to Cave 3 at Qumran, where the copper scroll was hidden for nearly 2,000 years.
What we have left that had the scrolls in it is right over here. But it was actually, before the archaeologists got here, is filled up to dirt right up to here where these markings are all along the cave.
So is that what these paint marks are?
Right into here. You come in here, Chris, you actually can see the place where someone marked where the copper scroll originally was found, right up against here.
So why do you think the copper scroll was written in the first place?
Well, the copper scroll had to have been written just immediately before the destruction of the temple. So it actually fits the glove perfectly for this people known as the Zealots, who were the priestly group who were holding down the temple, keeping the temple from the Romans in the best way possible. But before they were massacred, they left things behind in caves here near Qumran.
Some of their hiding places are easy to find on a modern map, like Jericho, the Valley of Achor, and Mount Gerizim. Others are more cryptic, like Solomon's Canal, which contains a stash of silver coins, a well in Milham, where garments for the high priest were hidden, or Mattia's courtyard, where more than 600 gold and silver temple vessels were buried.
The instructions on the scrolls is like a kid's treasure map in a way. They're talking about caves, they're talking about tombs, they're talking about aqueducts and pools and other things that were known to them at the time, probably with aliases of names applied to these places so that only those people who were part of the inner circle would know where to go, how many steps to go away, and where to dig and find the temple treasure that was buried in that spot.
The scroll's language is a mystery in itself. The writers use a style of Hebrew that dates back 800 years before their time. Adding to the puzzle, a series of random Greek letters.
Kind of freezes in time the language to around 70 AD that shows us what Hebrew language looked like among the common people of that time.
So what happened to the treasure? Fawn says anyone looking for it today is about 2,000 years too late.
In my mind, most, if not all of these, were actually found by the Romans under the point of the sword. What we do know from the Ark of Titus in Rome, it shows a clear depiction of the main items of furniture and the trumpets that were used in the temple being carried in parade through the gates of Rome to the Forum. And we do know that Titus used the booty to build the Colosseum in Rome. If there's any treasure left, there would have been small parts that might not have been found that still lie out there ready for people to find today. We don't know.
The scroll's last line hints at an even greater treasure, still undiscovered. In a dry well ekohlit, a copy of this document with its explanation and an inventory of each and everything.
What's interesting is that there were actually 2 treasure maps that were made.
Line 64 of the Copper Scroll is the most fascinating of all. Hard to decode, but quite compelling.
Author Joel Rosenberg hit the New York Times bestseller list with his novel On the Copper Scroll. He believes the second scroll is still out there, and it could lead to the greatest archaeological prize in history.
What if finding the treasures of the Copper Scroll did in fact lead to the Ark of the Covenant being found?
Rosenberg may be onto something. Ancient Jewish writings say the Ark and other First Temple treasures were hidden by priests before the invasion of the Babylonians. Their locations were inscribed on a tablet of copper.
The key scroll has never been found. Nobody has any idea where it is. And if in fact the treasures that are described by the Copper Scroll, and perhaps revealed more fully in the key scroll, are in fact from the Second Temple, finding them would in fact be the most dramatic archaeological discovery of all time.
Up next, real-life raiders of the Lost Ark. The man who said he was just days away from finding the Ark of the Covenant, and where he believes it rests today.
Hi, my name is Breda. I'm just your typical 9-year-old. I love singing, dancing, reading, discovering the simple truth. My grandpa says you're never too young or old to learn the value of a dollar. He taught me the true value of this paper dollar. You see this little gold coin? It says $1 on it. But guess what? That was a long time ago. Today, this gold dollar is worth over 100 paper dollars. This paper dollar is now only worth 1 penny compared to America's former money, the gold dollar. My grandpa says the only money worth saving today is real money, gold or silver coins. He's pretty smart. How our paper dollars lost their value, he says. It's all explained in a new book, The Great Debasement. It's easy and fun to read. If you call the number on the screen, I will send you a copy totally free. Next time, I will explain the simple truth about money.
Help!
If an emergency happened right now, you can have help at the push of a button with Medical Alert.
Remember when I took that fall, Mary?
Oh, yes, that was terrible.
Yes, it was. Help! And I thought, what if you hadn't been there? I ordered my Medical Alert the next day.
I can't describe how safe I feel now with my Medical Alert. You didn't know I was wearing it, did you?
Medical Alert is easy to install, waterproof, and covers you inside your home and out.
It helps me feel safe from fires, break-ins.
And of course, a Medical Alert. And if you don't have a home phone, don't worry. They have that covered.
There's always help at the push of a button. Don't wait till you need it.
Get Medical Alert for less than $1 a day. There are no long-term contracts. Order now and get your second button free. Call for your free brochure.
For your free Medical Alert system with second button free, call 800-575-8507.
Welcome back to Jerusalem Dateline. One of the greatest unsolved mysteries of history is the resting place of the Ark of the Covenant. Students of the Bible know that the Ark was the sacred vessel that held the original remains of the Ten Commandments, and that the children of Israel had it in the inner sanctum of the temple, the Holy of Holies. Today, archaeologists are still searching for the Ark, and some say the trail ends not far from where it began, right behind me on the Temple Mount. In 1981, Indiana Jones made his big screen debut, reigniting the world's interest in history's most hunted relic, the Ark of the Covenant. That same year, 2 real-life raiders went on their own search for the Ark. There were no Nazis and no snake pits, just 2 renegade rabbis on a mission. And this is the place where their search came to an end. Designed by God, created by Moses, and revered by the Israelites. From the Sinai Desert to the Temple of Solomon, the Ark of the Covenant was the place of meeting between God and man. In 586 BC, Israel was conquered by the Babylonians. The temple was raided by Nebuchadnezzar's army, and the Ark disappeared from the pages of history.
What happened? Why did this most dramatic instrument of God's glory and power in human history suddenly vanish?
Why do you think people are so fascinated by the location of the Ark of the Covenant?
It's a very interesting question.
Archaeologist Gabriel Barkay has sifted through centuries of Jerusalem's history. And in 45 years, he hasn't found any sign of the Ark.
All what we know is legends.
And those legends stretch all over the ancient world, starting with Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon.
The Ark of the Covenant was made of wood and it was gold-plated. Such an amount of gold would be melted down at the time of war, immediately after it was captured.
Do you think it's very likely that the Ark itself was destroyed at that time?
I think so. I think so.
Jewish writings say the prophet Jeremiah hid the Ark on Mount Nebo in Jordan. Another legend claims it was smuggled to Ethiopia by the son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. In Israel, most rabbis agree that when it comes to the Ark, all roads lead back here to Jerusalem. They say the Ark never left the city, and to them, the so-called lost Ark was never really lost. On June 7, 1967, Israeli troops recaptured Jerusalem in the Six-Day War. The Western Wall was in Jewish hands, and those hands were ready to dig. Archaeologists exposed parts of the wall that had been buried for 2,000 years. But not all of the digging was done legally. In 1981, 2 of Israel's highest-ranking rabbis, Shlomo Goren and Yehuda Getz, picked up their pickaxes and started chiseling under the Temple Mount.
And he knew that in the end of the gate, he will come to the secret room where the Ark of Covenant is located.
Gershon Solomon was one of the paratroopers who liberated the Western Wall in 1967. And he was there 14 years later, the night Rabbi Getz opened a secret passage in the wall.
After midnight, I was in the bed already, and he called me and said to me, Gershon, come immediately, don't wait, your dream is going to be fulfilled. What happened? I told him. The Messiah came, and he told me he's coming almost.
But first came a subterranean slugfest.
Arab demonstrations, you know, they started to throw stones on the workers. The Israelis are coming to build the temple underneath the Dome of the Rock.
At the end of the day, the passage to the Temple Mount was permanently sealed by Israeli police.
No doubt, I tell you, no doubt. We needed just maybe 2 days more to come to the place where the Ark of Covenant is located.
The work was done without archaeological supervision. And when I was the official archaeologist of Jerusalem, I decided to stop the work.
Dan Bahat directed the excavation of the Western Wall tunnels. And according to him, the search for the Ark stops with Jeremiah 3:16.
Prophet Jeremiah says there will come a day when the Ark of the Covenant will not be seen, nor will it be visited. In other words, this was a hint from God. Don't look for the Ark of the Covenant.
Scholars may not agree on the fate of the Ark, but many of them agree on one thing. Its discovery could set in motion another event that's been 2,000 years in the making: the rebuilding of the Jewish temple.
Perhaps when it's time to build the third temple, the second temple treasures will be found. Why? Because both in Ezra and Nehemiah, the Bible indicates that when it was time to build the second temple, God restored the treasures from the first temple, which of course had been carted off to Babylon. When it's time to build the third temple, the second temple treasures will be found. Wouldn't that be dramatic?
It is soon to come. I tell you, I promise you, when you check me, test me, it will be in our lifetime.
Up next, laying the foundations for the new Temple of Jerusalem.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need, just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
Welcome back to Jerusalem Dateline. In 1967, Israeli forces captured the old city of Jerusalem during the Six-Day War. After nearly 2,000 years of exile, the Jewish people were close to their dream of rebuilding the temple. But that dream lasted just a few days when Muslim authorities were given control over the Temple Mount. Now, more than 4 decades later, Jewish people are forbidden to pray there. But that hasn't stopped some people from making plans to rebuild the third temple. Every day, 3 times a day, Jews recite this prayer: "May it be your will that the temple be speedily rebuilt in our own time." It's a prayer they prayed for almost 2,000 years. But Jews here in Jerusalem are doing more than just praying. Just a few steps away from the Western Wall, rabbis and craftsmen are building what they call a temple in waiting.
We're supposed to build a temple, and nothing about that changed. Nothing about that commandment changed.
Chaim Richman is a director at the Temple Institute in Jerusalem.
The Temple Institute is actively engaged in research and preparation for the resumption of the service in the Holy Temple, to the extent of actually preparing operational blueprints for the construction of the temple according to the most modern standards.
Piece by piece, the third temple is taking shape, with priest garments, vessels of copper, gold, and silver, and a new generation of Levite priests, specially trained for temple service.
We have enough in place now to resume the divine service and to build the temple. But obviously, a lot of things have to happen in order for this to happen.
Richman isn't the only one who's ready to rebuild. You actually have blueprints
architectural drawings for the third temple.
3,000 years after King Solomon built the first Jewish temple, another Solomon is laying the foundations for the third.
I have a task and a mission in my life which is connected with the rebirth of Israel.
Gershon Solomon leads a group called the Temple Mount Faithful. They commissioned these cornerstones for the third temple. The 6-ton stones were consecrated with water from the biblical pool of Siloam and cut with diamonds.
And why God commanded us not to cut them by iron? Don't forget that these are stones for the house of God. They cannot be like other stones.
For several years, Solomon and his followers tried to place the stones on the Temple Mount, and every year they were stopped by Israeli police.
Unfortunately, weakness of the Israeli leadership did not allow us to bring the cornerstone to the right place. The end-time temple should be built on the same location of the first and the second temple.
But that location is already occupied. The holiest site for Jews is also the third holiest site for Muslims. And neither side is ready to share.
The Temple Mount, 35 acres of it, is the most explosive piece of territory on the face of the planet.
In 2002, Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat told an Arab newspaper that the Israelis found not a single stone proving that the Temple of Solomon was there because the temple was not in Palestine at all.
The issue of the temple, it's so sensitive.
Dr. Yusuf Nache is in charge of tourism at the Dome of the Rock. Here's what he had to say when I asked him about the Jewish temple.
It's not an undeniable fact. It is theories, and the political situation, the misunderstanding, the mistrust distorted all the facts.
That is stupid, because the Arabs themselves, they call Jerusalem the place of the temple. And the Golden Dome right behind me, the Dome of the Rock, was built in order to replace Solomon's temple. I think this temple denial is more serious than the Holocaust denial.
To counter this so-called temple denial, Gabriel Barkay is pushing the archaeological envelope. Muslim law forbids any digging on the mount itself. So instead, Barkay's digging through its trash.
We have here the entire history of the Temple Mount.
He and his team are sifting through truckloads of debris, unearthed by bulldozers and discarded by Muslim authorities.
So there could be artifacts in here going back to the first and second temple? And
yes, there are, no doubt.
Among their finds, a Babylonian arrowhead from the fall of Jerusalem in 586 BC, and this 2,400-year-old Hebrew coin, the oldest ever minted in Jerusalem.
Do you think in your lifetime there'll ever be a time when you can actually investigate what's under the Temple Mount?
No, I don't. I'm very pessimistic about it.
Some of the most dramatic traces of temple life have been unearthed here at the Western Wall. This street was part of the marketplace outside the Second Temple. On the walls, you can still see the marks from the fires that destroyed the temple in 70 AD, and overturned stones still lying where they were thrown from the top of the Temple Mount by the armies of Rome. On one stone is a Hebrew inscription, "To the place of trumpeting." It's a set of ancient directions to the southwest corner of the temple, where trumpeters announced the arrival of the Sabbath 2,000 years ago. Even more intriguing is the part of the Western Wall that's still underground.
Amongst the courses of the Western Wall, the line of stones which we have here, this is the greatest and the most exciting one we have here.
Dan Bahat spent 40 years excavating the tunnels around the Temple Mount, and he says the most compelling case for the temple is yet to be discovered.
I believe that behind this stone is a large arch which forms a storehouse, a big storehouse, which stored all the treasures of the temple. But we don't have till now anywhere where those treasures were. And the only possibility is that it must be subterranean somewhere around the Temple Mount. I believe that it might have been behind this wall.
So do you think it's possible that the treasures are still there?
Well, I hope so. Maybe in the future, when it will be possible to dig, maybe we'll get to there. I say we, it must be my grandchildren, the earliest.
But Bahat's interest in the temple is strictly in its past, not in its future.
There is no chance whatsoever for the third temple. The third temple will be when the Messiah comes, and both of our Jews and Christians are waiting for him. So let us see when he comes what happens. It won't happen before.
Rabbis for centuries did not understand this and in fact argued, well, are we supposed to build the temple and then the Messiah will come? Or are we supposed to wait and then the Messiah will build the temple?
Again, I could hear the voice of God like he's speaking to all of us. I brought you here to build my house. Build my house.
Grace, music is unpredictable.
I know I have what it takes.
The Dove Foundation raves. Grace Unplugged is remarkable and inspiring.
This is not about the music, it's about everything else that goes with it.
Dad, were you watching me?
A moving and meaningful film.
This book, his words shook me. It was like my whole world.
That parents and teens should see together, says Focus on the Family.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna drag her back home?
Yeah, I might. I think maybe you're fighting God. Just stop running.
Grace Unplugged, rated PG, now playing.
If you had a choice between going bald and a full head of hair, which would you choose? Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
Yes!
You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real, naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than BOSLEY. The results look completely natural and are affordable on nearly any budget. But the entire process can't be explained in 60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So don't put it off any longer. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose BOSLEY.
Call 800-868-9957. That's 800-868-9957.
Grace, music is unpredictable.
I know I have what it takes.
The Dove Foundation raves. Grace Unplugged is remarkable and inspiring.
This is not about the music, it's about everything else that goes with it.
Dad, were you watching me?
A moving and meaningful film.
This book, his words shook me. It was like my whole world.
That parents and teens should see together, says Focus on the Family.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna drag her back home?
Yeah, I might. I think maybe you're fighting God. Just stop running.
Grace Unplugged, rated PG, now playing.
I hope you've liked our special on modern mysteries of Israel. If you'd like to know more about these discoveries, you can like our history and archaeology page on Facebook. There you'll find links to archaeological sites, behind-the-scene photos, and much more. Well, that's it for this special edition. I'm Chris Mitchell. We'll see you here next time on Jerusalem Dateline.